Hello, humanities students. Before we begin our course on modernism and postmodernism from a 21st century perspective, I'd like to share a few preliminary thoughts. Picking the moment when we become modern is like trying to follow a drop of water in a waterfall. Its definition and characteristics tend to be very fluid. This very amorphous term lends itself to even more ambiguous terms going forward, such as postmodernism and contemporary. But can one actually get past the modern? And does the contemporary, once over, become modern, classical, romantic, etc.? In this dim light, modernism might be simply defined as a refutation and a rejection of anything before itself. It is a view that states that past traditions, narratives, mythologies, values, authority, mores, outlooks, beliefs, heroes, etc., are no longer relevant, no longer true, and no longer valid. This iconoclastic modernist disregard for the past is reflected in existential philosophy and the advent of new musical experimentation such as dissonance and musique concrète, or new musical forms such as jazz and blues. It is reflected in the irreverence for past art, as in Duchamp's work, and in non-representational and abstract works of art. It is reflected in literature with the introduction of stream of consciousness narratives, such as in Woolf or Joyce and Faulkner, and in the breaking down of conventional literary or artistic rules. It moves away from the guidelines of authority and from schools of thought to the authority of the individual. Ironically, this shift simply tended to replace the old gods with the new gods of the modern world. See Orozco painting. The machine and the mechanized. It demonstrated a paradoxically enervating vitality toward progress, not of the individual, who became a cog in the machinery of the state, see Chaplin's Modern Times, but to the state itself. This optimism and sense of Western industrial and technological superiority crumbled under a barrage of mortar shells, was revealed by the surreal light and glare of gas attacks, devolved into trench warfare and rendered a no man's land in World War I. The 18th century Enlightenment saw humanity as a rational animal. 20th century irrationality seemed to expose a beast. The machinery of the state led to totalitarian systems and nationalistic extremes on the left and the right of the political spectrum. Russian revolutions, dictatorships, and fascist regimes in Italy and Germany were the outcomes of the reverence for the assembly line and the machine. The awful power of the nuclear bomb transformed reverence into fear, and humankind shrank under this new, awesome power. We had arrived at a point where our incredible industry, innovation, ability, and know-how allowed us to effectively annihilate our entire existence. A ghastly irony. Thank goodness for postmodernism. Well, sort of. Today, virtually a century since the advent of the modern, I sense the same spirit, a kind of neo-modernism demonstrated by millennials and Generation Z, who likewise desire a sea change and rejection of the past. Conventional views of government, marriage, family, sexuality, purpose, race, identity, etc. have been re-examined and redefined. An insistence on a fundamental change in culture through a new start, not built on or based on the foundations of the past, seems to pervade our times. Wherever this new modernism leads is uncertain. I hope we can learn lessons from the past, both in terms of benefits and drawbacks, and not simply replace the old gods of machinery with the new gods of a computerized age, and not again become a slave to the tool. So let's explore these concepts to discover the impact of the last century on our contemporary sense of what it means to be human in the 21st century. As always, I look to the great artists for direction because of their unique ability to see the impact and potential outcomes of our contemporary times in their own time. And yet, like the modern poet W.B. Yeats queries in The Second Coming, I too wonder, what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. Enjoy the course.